Welcome to the TSIA2 Essay Test Prep from Star Center Tutoring Services at Lone Star College, Montgomery. The TSIA2 Texas Success Initiative Assessment 2 is a college readiness placement test. It is designed to place you in the classes that you are most ready for. It is not pass-fail. It is divided into two main sections. You have the math section and you have the ELAR with an essay. The math section is divided into 20 multiple-choice questions covering areas in quantitative reasoning, algebraic reasoning, geometric and spatial reasoning, and probabilistic reasoning. The ELAR section, English, Language, Arts, and Reading, is 30 multiple-choice questions that are reading-focused and writing-focused. In the past, this section was actually two separate tests, reading and writing. Now they're combined and you'll just go through the multiple choice questions. The essay test requires you to provide a 300 to 600 word essay in response to one randomly selected prompt. The TSIA2 is scored immediately. So what score do you need to place in the English 1301? If you're only taking the essay portion, you need a minimum score of a 5 on the TSIA2 essay. If you're taking the ELAR in addition, you're going to need a combined score in the range between a 945 and a 990 on the ELAR College Readiness Classification Test, also referred to as the CRC, and a score of at least a 5 on the essay test. Or, if you score below a 945 on the ELAR CRC test, you will need a diagnostic test score of a 5 or 6 and at least a 5 or higher on the essay test. The TSIA2 is a placement test. It is not a pass-fail exam. The scores you receive will be used to determine which courses are most appropriate for you to take at this time. You will read a short passage and an assignment question that are focused on an important issue. Your essay is read by a computer and given a holistic score that represents how clearly and effectively you expressed your position. You will plan and write a multi-paragraph essay between 300 and 600 words in which you develop your own point of view on the issue. Aim for 500 words or more, as those who reach this goal generally do better. A word count is provided towards the bottom of your page. Remember that the TSIA2 uses a very simple formatting, so if you want to indicate a paragraph break, don't indent, just put a space in between. Support your position with reasoning and examples taken from your readings, studies, experiences, or observations. The position you take will not influence your score. The following 6 characteristics of writing will be considered. Purpose and content. This is the extent to which you present information in a unified and coherent manner, clearly addressing the issue. Organization and structure. This is how you connect and order your ideas. Development and support. How you develop and support your ideas. Sentence variety and style. This is the extent to which you craft sentences and paragraphs demonstrating control of vocabulary, voice, and structure. Mechanical conventions. This is the extent to which you express your ideas using standard written English. Critical thinking is the extent to which you communicate a point of view and demonstrate the reasoned relationship among ideas. And remember, you're also scored on spelling, grammar, punctuation, and content. Here are some additional resources that you may find useful. The second one is particularly helpful because College Board are the people who write and produce the TSIA2. They have designed their own sample test that you can go through and test yourself. If you go down to that second one, College Board also has a series of learning resources that you can use. They also have a study app that is included. I highly advise you to go ahead and go in there and start using that because it'll allow you to test your knowledge and it's adaptive. And then the last one just provides some additional study guides for your use. We're now going to review a list of terms and definitions that you may find on the essay, and some of these will actually help you with the writing process. Purpose. This is the reason the passage was written. Focus. This is the center of interest, the purpose, or point of the passage. the extent to which you communicate a point of view and demonstrate reasoned relationships among ideas. Organization and structure. This is how you connect and order ideas, basic structure of the essay, and how it is organized within the essay. Use paragraphs in a variety of fully formed sentences. Organization and structure continued. Essays generally use a basic structure containing an introduction, at least one body paragraph, and a conclusion. An introductory paragraph should include a hook, background section, and a thesis. Your body paragraph or paragraphs should contain a topic sentence, proof, evidence, examples, and support, and a transitional conclusion. And finally, your conclusion paragraph should begin with a restatement or refocusing of your thesis statement, have a summary of the main points, and provide a concluding statement. Development. This is the process of adding information and illustrative details to support the main idea in a paragraph or essay. Develop and present the information. Support. This is any additional information that explains, defines, or proves an idea. An example of this would be evidence, examples, and proof. Purpose and content. This is the extent to which you present information in a unified and coherent manner, clearly addressing an issue. Mechanical conventions. This is the extent to which you express ideas using standard written English. Critical thinking. The extent to which you communicate a point of view and demonstrate the reasoned relationship among ideas. Sentence and style. This is the extent to which you craft sentences and paragraphs, demonstrating control of vocabulary, voice, and structure. There are 4 types of sentences: simple, compound, complex, and compound complex. A simple sentence contains one independent clause. It can be as simple as "she writes mystery novels," or it can be much more complicated. A compound sentence is when you have 2 related independent clauses that are joined together by a semicolon or a comma with a conjunction. John goes to the store, he buys apples. A complex sentence is a combination of one independent clause and one dependent clause. If the dependent clause is followed by an independent clause, it is separated by a comma. A comma is not needed if the dependent clause is first in the sentence. Here's our example. When Harry met Sally, he knew he would marry her. If you ever get confused and are trying to tell the difference between a compound and a complex sentence, look at the type of clauses that you're dealing with and think about math. If you multiply something by itself or compound it, you have 2 things of the same type. That's what a compound clause or a compound sentence is. It's 2 independent clauses. A complex sentence is one of each. A compound complex sentence has at least 2 independent clauses and at least 1 dependent clause. The order that they're put in the sentence does not matter. Just make sure that you're using internal punctuation appropriately. Look at our examples. When Joe went to the store, he bought groceries and he paid bills. Joe bought groceries and he paid his bills when he went to the store. Sentence variety. There are 4 types of sentence varieties: statement, direct question, command, and exclamation. A statement makes an assertion ending in a period. The movie starts at 6 p.m. A direct question uses the speaker's words, asking a question ending in a question mark. Have you seen my phone? A command gives a command, and the subject is often the understood you ending in a period. You sit down at the table. Sit down at the table. Exclamation uses great emotion but is not always a complete thought, ending in an exclamation mark. Great! Wow, that's amazing. Just a quick note, exclamations are informal and are not generally used in formal and academic writing unless it's part of a quote that is being used for support. Sentence faults. A dangling modifier is a word or phrase that modifies another word that is not clearly stated. The doer of the action must follow the modifying phrase. Having washed the dishes, the movie was turned back on. We don't know who turned the movie back on. To correct this, we're going to insert a subject in our next phrase. Having washed the dishes, Padma turned the movie back on. A fragment is a phrase or group of words that's most commonly missing a subject or a verb, acting as a sentence containing ending punctuation. Sometimes it's just a dependent clause that has a period. To correct this, you'll include an independent clause. When tomorrow comes. This is wrong because we don't know what happens when tomorrow comes. When tomorrow comes, we will start again. A comma splice is when you have two or more independent clauses that are joined incorrectly together with a comma. Riley finished her homework early, she can go to the party. A run-on sentence is when two or more independent clauses are joined incorrectly together without any punctuation. These are sometimes referred to as fused sentences. Riley finished her homework early, she can go to the party. When you are reading these, a good way to tell if you're dealing with a run-on sentence is as you're reading it, you start to feel like you're out of breath because we don't have those natural pauses that come from the internal punctuation. Just a quick note, comma splices in run-on sentences can generally be corrected by doing one of three things. The easiest way is to just divide the independent clauses into two separate sentences with a period. The second way is to separate the independent clauses with a semicolon if the clauses are closely related in meaning or subject. And then the last way is to separate the independent clauses with a comma and a conjunction if the clauses are closely related in meaning or subject. We're now going to cover a brief grammar review. Pronoun agreement. Make sure that gendered pronouns agree with each other and the noun they are paired with. He, him, his, she, her, hers. Shang said he will be late. May looks like her mother. Note, when a sentence has more than one person of the same gender, do not use a personal pronoun unless you have already reintroduced who you're discussing. Emmy had been friends with Liz since she saved her from a bully in 3rd grade. We're unclear who the she and the her is referencing. To correct this, we're going to replace our personal pronouns with the person we're discussing. Emmy had been friends with Liz since Liz saved Emmy from a bully in 3rd grade. Subject-verb agreement. The subject and the verb must agree in number. If your subject is singular, then your verb will be singular as well. If your subject is plural, then your verb will be plural. Eli are a good swimmer. This is wrong because our subject, Eli, is singular, but our verb was listed as the plural are. To correct this, we'll just change our verb to a singular. Eli is a good swimmer. Singular versus plural agreement. The noun must agree in number with the words that refer to it. A cat, 5 cats. The following is incorrect from the bottoms of my heart because our subject, heart, is singular. So the word describing it would have to be singular as well, from the bottom of my heart. Proper punctuation. Each sentence should have proper punctuation, both internal punctuation and ending punctuation. Syntax and word order. Syntax refers to the arrangement of words and phrases to create well-formed sentences in a language. Word order refers to the way words are arranged in a sentence. The standard word order in English is subject plus verb and then your object. Spelling and grammar. Use correct spelling and grammar when writing. If you do not know how to spell a word and cannot look up the spelling, use a different word. Remember, we write differently than we speak. Use complete sentences and proper capitalization. Appropriate vocabulary. This considers what writing style is most appropriate for this passage. Most academic writing is formal, using third person he, her, it, and they, and avoids the use of first person I, me, we, and second person you, your, or avoids personal pronouns entirely unless directed otherwise. Profanity, contractions, slang, and biased language are avoided in writing as well. Formal versus informal vocabulary. Formal writing uses a less personal style, more professional and businesslike. Informal writing is a personal form of communication. It's more relaxed and friendly. It's closer to conversational writing. So an example of this would be the very formal hello, how are you, versus an informal greeting of yo, bro, how you doing? Audience appropriateness. This considers what the audience needs to know and what the audience already knows, and what information is needed to prove and support the main point and thesis. Getting started. Once you've been given your assignment question before you start writing, you need to start going over preliminaries. Choose a side and develop an opinion. Start dumping ideas and facts on paper. Form the main idea or position, and write an outline to organize, because a good outline can actually be used to write the paper. Think of it as the skeleton of your paper. Writing the introduction. The introduction paragraph will begin with a hook. This focuses the reader on what you're writing, and it can be anything. It can be a song lyric, it can be a short story, or an example, or a statistic, or a quote. The next section, and it's going to take up most of the paragraph, is a brief background or an introduction of the topic. And it should ideally connect your hook with your thesis statement. Your thesis statement is the last part of your introductory paragraph. It's going to contain your main point, or what your focus is, what you're trying to prove. As you're writing, you want to think about stating the topic. Make a statement and then defining it. You can introduce the question or the debate. This is normally going to be in that hook section, and then later on, you can answer that question with a thesis or debate with a position. And you can use your thesis as a map of points. So as you go through, you can actually break those points down so they'll each be a body paragraph. Writing the body. The body paragraphs are going to contain a topic sentence. This acts as a mini thesis that allows you to organize your thoughts and prove what you're trying to state. You'll then have evidence in body to help support what your argument or statement is. And then you'll end with a transitional conclusion that moves you from this paragraph into the next one. Each of your body paragraphs needs to have a topic sentence that unifies the paragraph and allows it to stay on topic. These are specific to the paragraph, but as a whole should always link back to your thesis statement. Make sure you're supporting the argument throughout the entire paper, and be sure to transition to the next paragraph so that the essay flows. Finally, writing the conclusion. The conclusion should contain a rewording or a restatement of the thesis, followed by a brief summary of the main points, and then ending with a concluding statement. You should not have any new information added into your conclusion. However, as you're going through, if you find that you have written some new information that's really useful to your overall argument, just move it up and work it into one of your body paragraphs. Make sure as you're summarizing your points that you're providing insight, and then call for action with your conclusion and show why it's significant. Use parallel structure for items in a series. Everything must be equal in a list. Look at our example. Apples, oranges, and bananas. You should have a comma between each of your items so that they represent being equal to each other. Make effective transitions. They allow the writer to move smoothly from one paragraph or topic to another. And review the essay if time allows, looking for errors and places for improvement. We will now review a sample essay prompt. Charles Darwin first proposed his theory of evolution in 1859 in his book Origin of the Species. This eventually led to the ongoing debate of whether it is nature or nurture which ultimately has a greater influence on what makes an individual. Nature is defined as the genetics and hereditary traits each individual is born with. These are often associated with the characteristics that are passed down from parent to child. Nurture is the environmental factors that influences each individual. These include individual experiences, familial and societal relationships, upbringing, and culture. Sample essay assignment question. Based on this argument, is being good a learned behavior or an inherited ability? Plan and write a multi-paragraph essay, 300 to 600 words, in which you develop your point of view on the above question. Support your position with reasoning and examples taken from your readings, studies, experiences, observations, or imagination. Planning and writing an essay. Once you've read your sample essay prompt and read the assignment question, you're going to start the planning process. Assess the assignment. Figure out what are you being asked. From there, you're going to develop a question. Are people born being good, or do people learn to be good? From here, you will decide on your topic. Choose a side and write your thesis statement. It doesn't have to be a complete thought at this point. For our purpose, we're going to choose people learn to be good. Then you're going to prepare your outline. Write your thesis statement. So our example of our thesis statement is, although Charles Darwin proposed that nature has the greatest influence on an individual, being good is a learned behavior because individuals do not need to learn how to be bad. Now, I spent some time on this. When you are writing, you may have a very rough thesis statement, and that's okay. But the way this thesis statement is written, I can divide it into several sections. And then from those sections, I can write my body paragraphs. Once you've picked your side and kind of worked on your thesis statement, you're going to start writing the introduction. You're going to pick 2 to 3 points to prove and use examples to support your argument. It's really much better if you can choose 3 points, so you will have a 5-body paragraph. Make sure as you're writing that each paragraph is roughly about the same size. So when I say same size, I'm not saying word-wise, I'm saying more an idea of like sentence-wise. So you won't have one paragraph that's 3 sentences, one that's 15 sentences, and then one that is 35, because they're not going to have an equal amount of support in each paragraph. So here's our example of our points. Our first point is children must be taught what is right or good. So an example of this could be that some of a child's first words are often no or mine. You could talk a little bit about that. Our second point is it is an innate instinct to strive for survival or success at all costs. This can lead to a me-first attitude that can prompt bad behavior. So from here, you can use examples to prove your point. And then our third point for our sample essay is people have to learn to behave in a way that supports social norms. A child's peer group may not allow certain behaviors, so the child associates those behaviors as bad. So we could give them the example of picking your nose in public. Each of those topics that we covered can actually be used as part of your topic sentences. Now you're going to start writing the body. You'll have your topic sentence, then you'll add your main points and examples and evidence and subpoints in your body. Then you'll end with your transitional conclusion, moving you smoothly from one topic to the next topic between your paragraphs. Write the conclusion. Make sure you're including a revised thesis statement with a summary of your main points. Make sure that it's brief and you're not including any new information. And then finish with your concluding statement. Make sure that you're giving yourself time to edit, revise, and review. Now, on the next slide, I'm going to give you the opportunity to practice what we've just gone over. I'm going to read for you an essay prompt, and then I'll give you the assignment question. Pretend that you are in the testing center. You're going to sit down. Once you look at your essay prompt and assignment question, you cannot get up and leave until you have completed your assignment. A recent art exhibition in New York featured an artist who displayed snapshots of personal text messages that he had taken at various times throughout the city. All of the images contained private information that was captured without the owner's knowledge or consent. Although the exhibit received favorable responses from critics, it did raise the question of what is considered a reasonable expectation of privacy. The artist argued that it was no different than taking pictures of people on the street, even though most of his photos were taken over people's shoulders. Many in society and in the media believe in the people's right to know regardless of the common concepts of privacy. Based on the passage, what is a reasonable right to privacy? Should the public be allowed access to a person's private messages and information, or should an individual be allowed to keep personal information private even when in public? Plan and write a multi-paragraph essay, 300 to 600 words, in which you develop your point of view on the above question. Support your position with reasoning and examples taken from your readings, studies, experiences, observations, or imagination. Star Center Resources. For additional information about the Star Center resources, visit mavericksresearch.lonestar.edu. You'll be able to learn all about the different services available for both in-person and online students. Thank you for attending our workshop.